KAMP LA 2022. You were supposed to be the chosen one.
You were the chosen one!
The next big K-pop festival in the US. But no! You were not the chosen one. KAMP LA 2022 made the jump to the US market, but unfortunately did not have the high ground.
Over Anakin! I have the high ground!
So all Star Wars jokes aside, how did KAMP LA 2022 lose the high ground? The simple answer? Through a series of bad PR and marketing moves, which most, if not all of them, could have been easily prevented. I am getting ahead of myself. For starters, what is KAMP LA 2022? The event was aimed to be one of the biggest K-pop festivals in US music history. But instead of becoming that, to many K-pop fans, it became known as something else. The K-pop Fyre Festival. So to understand why this festival became such a campfire, we gotta go back to about 2 months ago when the festival was suddenly announced. So the concert came out of nowhere, to many people's surprise. There was no real build-up or anticipation. People were wondering, who the heck was KAMP? So KAMP is a concert organizer in Korea, but they're mostly known within Korea as well as in Asia. And it had a lot of big artists that were gonna come. So when they announced their lineup with all these big name stars, fans naturally got excited. But it wasn't just fans that were suddenly excited for this new festival. There was a lot of artists that also gave their ringing endorsements of KAMP LA 2022.
With Super Junior's Etuk saying, "This is something that K-pop fans will remember and talk about for years to come." And EXO's Kai saying, "It's exciting to take part in the KAMP lineup. This may legitimately be the biggest K-pop event in US history."
Expectations were already high for this festival just days after it was announced, as fans wanted another K-pop festival on American soil. And boy, were fans willing to pay for this experience. I talked to fans during the concert where they were willing to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for this new experience. But fast forward to the week of the concert, fans started noticing something off about this newly created K-pop event. Most of the stars were still in Korea and didn't fly out from Incheon International Airport to LA. There were also cryptic, vague messages by several of the artists that fans were trying to decipher, thinking, what's going on? What do they mean by these emojis? Fast forward even more to 2 days before the event, and fans are getting kind of antsy now because a lot of the artists still haven't left Korea. And in the music business, for overseas concerts, it usually falls down to the concert organizer to get their visas processed. In this case, KAMP LA. They didn't get their visas processed. It's 2 days before the event. Are we gonna even have a festival? That's what many fans are asking. And these fears would present themselves 16 hours before day one. And at this time, KAMP LA suddenly announces that 6 of the artists won't be able to make it to the festival. And this includes Zion T, Jongsomi, Taeyeon, Lapolis, Bam Bam, and Kai. And these 6 artists would be joined by a 7th that couldn't make it, Monsta X, a huge draw to the festival. Those 7 groups or artists didn't have their visas in time to leave Korea to go to LA. The loss of so much star power made many fans mad, including myself. It came out of nowhere, we didn't know what to expect. In the span of just several hours before day one of the concert, this festival went from truly hyped concert to a clown fiesta. And just going to this concert on day one, I knew that this concert would be doomed to fail. Scheduled to originally have 15 artists, KAMP LA 2022 basically Thanos snapped half those artists down to 7. And it would get worse when the labels and artists themselves issued apologies well in advance on social media, saying that they're so sorry they couldn't make it and they really wanted to make it to LA to perform. And these artists and labels actually announced the news when I believe KAMP LA allowed them to do so. When they had that green light to announce it, they announced it right away. Whereas KAMP LA took an additional 8 to 12 hours to announce it on their official Twitter account. It just shows from this sudden announcement that they couldn't get the visas done, the unprofessionalism of KAMP LA 2022. And the event just became a hoax, where many fans were calling it K-pop Fyre 2.0, a reference to the 2017 Fyre Festival that was also a scam.
The hashtag K-pop Fyre Festival was trending on Twitter. The negative press was reported by both news publications and fans that bought tickets, where fans were quickly commenting on how poorly run and how KAMP LA misled fans at the last minute. these fans responded to the sudden announcement by selling their tickets for dirt cheap, as they originally paid anywhere from $250 to $350 for the 2-day event, with a lot of the tickets on October 15th and 16th, the 2 days of the event, selling for $10, $5, or even less. Even days before the announcement, fans knew that something bad was about to happen, and they sold their tickets for a very low price, not trusting KAMP LA 2022 to deliver, with their predictions proving to be true. This concert will now go down infamously as the K-pop Fyre Festival, one of the worst things a music event can be called, which leads me to call out KAMP LA 2022.
Why am I calling out KAMP LA 2022? We were actually invited to the event. We actually had VIP suites. So when I'm calling out this event, I'm pretty much burning bridges. But I think it's important for me to do this because I'd rather tell the truth and be real than to suck up to a company if they're 100% in the wrong. And in this case, they're 100% in the wrong. So let me tell you our story of how we got into KAMP LA 2022. So we originally applied as press to the event, yet KAMP in the end didn't allow any press to cover the event. And they gave us the consolation of being invited as VIP in VIP suites. Now, despite being invited into VIP suites, I'm not gonna lie, negotiations to even get that were quite rocky and mirror the KAMP LA 2022 fan experience. I'm not gonna get into specifics now. I'm gonna keep that story private, but yeah, it wasn't the best. Despite all the rockiness, I do have to thank the event for still inviting us as VIPs. So for that, thank you. With that being said, everything else they did was pretty unprofessional. I was really disgusted to see how the show was run. And as a person that's actually worked in industry in Korea for 8 years as a journalist and have many friends in the industry, this is one of the worst events that was ever run. Now, there's 3 big reasons why I'm calling out this festival. So 1, the festival let the fans know at the very last moment, like 16 hours before day 1. 2, there was a lot of unprofessionalism in how they handled the event. And we're going to go through the specifics of what happened. And 3, they showed utter disrespect for both the fans as well as the artists. Now, I understand that things will go wrong in a concert. Like, not everything runs, not even 90% of the time. And that's fine, I get it. If KAMP LA 2022 had noble intentions and they tried their best to let fans know, to let artists know ahead of time what's going on and the visa issues and the artist lineup, then cool. I would not have called them out at all because in the end, they had good intentions. They did everything they could have and crap happens. But in this case, I'm looking at these mistakes like this could have all been prevented, if not minimized by a lot. I only think they cared about their profit and image. And I get it, they're a business, they should care about profit, not at the expense of treating the artists and fans like crap. So after this debacle, they went into full damage control and they tried to spin it in a positive light and show that the festival is still banging. And the way they did that is they curated a day 1 highlight reel on their Twitter account. Take a look. You would have been thinking, whoa, despite KAMP's screw-ups, it's still doing really well. But here are my pictures from the VIP suites for day 1. And this picture was taken at 3:30 p.m. on day 1, I believe when P1 Harmony was performing since they were the first artist. And it doesn't get better in the afternoon or even evening. And what the KAMP LA 2022 trailer did was they picked a lot of selective angles to make it look like it was popping. It was the next big huge K-pop festival. But fans were smarter than that. They knew it was a sham and they called them out on it, saying that you're just using the best angles and hiding huge gaps in the stadium. And you can also see in some of these shots that there's a section that's all empty and it's behind this like gray tent. You can't see beyond the gray tent because the gray tent has all the cameras that are filming the event. So people couldn't even sit there. So there's this huge gap. There's this UCLA banner that's covering many of the sections where you could have seated a lot of people. And it even looks even worse for Camp LA 2022's image.
I found this comment saying about 12,000 tickets were sold, but I'm thinking many of those tickets were fans from LA and canceled last minute, as Camp LA looked to only have around 2,000 to 2,500 people attending each day, with maybe 3,000 if they're lucky. At the time of this video, Camp LA 2022 never had a Day 2 trailer, as negative press from both social media and news publications were reporting low attendance numbers, leaving a big blight on Camp LA's reputation. But that's not all.
There was also displacement of the concert stadium. Now this takes place at the Pasadena Rose Bowl Stadium, and it was my first time there, and I believe it seats just over 90,000 people. And the stadium was originally pushed back, maybe past the midpoint, but now it was pushed even forward. So instead of maybe having like half the field or like 50%, now the crowd audience room was down to 40%.
One fan in particular talked about how moving the stage forward screwed them over, as shown in their post. Naturally, this fan was angry with their frustrations with Camp LA.
I think that Camp LA 2022, just days before their fiasco, couldn't pack the stadium. So I think moving the stadium up was a bad move for those people that had the side seats. During the intermission parts, when one artist finishes their performance and then they're waiting for the next artist to come up, I think outside of one commercial, I think it was called Too Cool for School, they had nothing to keep the fans busy. There was no MC host that was talking, there was no real background music, and there was no video playing in the background. Heck, there wasn't even a simple message that said, hey, the next artist will come out in 10 to 15 minutes. We didn't even know when the artist would come out. We just sat there as fans and entertained ourselves. Especially in the second day, where I moved down from VIP to the ground floor to be with the fan mob down there, which was actually quite fun. And a lot of fans were saying this is quite unprofessional, that other concerts and festivals would have entertainment or to keep fans busy during the intermission. The biggest example I can give you of this is for day 2, when aespa, the last act, were about to come up. And aespa was truly hyped. A lot of people wanted to see them. After Epic High, the group before aespa and then aespa was this intermission in between. The intermission actually was 35 minutes and no one knew. We just sat there in silence. Maybe we'd talk to each other. We basically had to entertain ourselves as the audience. And it's not a good experience if you went to any other festival or concert. But the biggest sin that Camp LA 2022 did was, as mentioned earlier, they let fans know of the artist cancellations 16 hours before day 1 would start. While the LA fans can skip it and get their refunds back, out-of-towners couldn't get their refunds back. So they're already out a couple hundred or thousands of dollars because of travel costs, and they were expecting to see their favorites, and now they can't, but they can't back out because they already paid all that money.
And fans let Camp LA 2022 know it on social media, where you had tweets of many people bashing the festival for thousands of dollars spent, showing that K-pop fans were willing to support the newly created festival with their hard-earned cash, but the festival in turn screwed them over. Other fans took Camp LA to task for not securing visas for artists, which is a basic essential for traveling overseas, especially for entertainers. Many fans said that if they knew the artist cancellations in advance, they would have canceled their concert tickets and hotel. I think Camp LA 2022 knew about this and wanted to prevent any last-minute cancellations, which is a really horrible douchebag move if this is indeed true. Some fans even took it further and wanted reimbursement for such late notice and the concert going under false pretenses.
And I know that Camp LA is only responsible for the refund of tickets, which they did do. Now, if Camp LA actually gave fans like a week or 2 or even 3 weeks notice, there's going to be a lot of people that cancel. But at least you did them a solid and let them know ahead of time, because with hotels and car rentals and flights, you only have a certain time to cancel those before they start charging you on your credit card. And 16 hours before the event, you can't cancel. You're already locked in. So we're stuck in the city of LA. We might as well go to Camp LA. And I think that's what Camp was trying to do, honestly. They were trying to save this thing last moment. Take something that's like a 20 to 30% chance of all the artists getting all their visas in time and flying out to LA and making it on such short notice and just performing off the airplane. Then to play it safe and give like a 2 weeks, 3 weeks notice and say, hey, we couldn't get the visas in time. We'll give you a refund. We are so sorry, but we wanted to let you guys know ahead of time that this is not happening, and we'll do Camp LA at a future date. There's a lot of solutions that could have been done, but Camp LA 2022 didn't do any of those solutions. They didn't try to work with the fans nor artists. That's not how you get trust from fans. When I talk to my concert organizer friends, they say they get everything squared away at least a month or two in advance. If they can't get that done in time, the proper professional way to do it is to let fans know and refund them and tell them that the event's canceled. That's what you do if you want to stay on the goodwill of the fan side and run a good business. Now, despite Camp LA screwing fans over, there is some good news to this, and that is that a lot of fans got in to day one and especially day two for cheap. I knew some friends that paid $5 or $2 or even $1 to get into day two. And I don't know how they got it. I didn't ask them, but they got in for cheap. Tickets at the end of day one, when all this, the whole camp fiasco was going on in social media, for nosebleed seats, it was $2. But in any case, for day two, Camp was giving out VIP wristbands to go to the front ground floor, which I was at day two. There was a lot of people that got straight up VIP for like $1. And I did also notice a couple people that refunded their tickets and got in somehow for free. And now in nearly all other cases, I would say that sucks that these tickets were selling for $2 or $1, or some people got in for free somehow. Because I want K-pop to explode even more in the US, and to do that, they need to make profit. But in Camp LA 2022's case, I think it's very justified. If you lie to fans 16 hours before the concert with no prior notice, you have to expect that fans are gonna respond in kind because you disrespected them so much. So if they're gonna find a $2 ticket on StubHub or sneak in for free, you only had yourself to blame for this camp. Now, despite the artists getting shafted at Camp LA, they still put on a great show. They hyped up the fans, and it was really fun. So here's some of the highlights that I've noticed. I liked P1 Harmony. I wish they performed a bit more. They were the opening act on day one. I liked when frontman Kiho was hyping the crowd. He was saying, when I say ki, you say ho. Ki ho, ki ho. So I like their song Do It Like This and Ayaya. Pretty catchy bangers. I like how a lot of the members in P1 Harmony also speak English, trying to relate and engage with the Western audience. It's great seeing iKON. I used to cover iKON in Korea when they first came out, so it was cool seeing them in the flesh in 2022. iKON was very animated with their jokes and mannerisms. I liked hearing Love Scenario, really catchy song. And then we have the OGs of K-pop, Super Junior, at the end of day one. They too were animated. They were just hamming things up for the audience. It was Donghae's birthday. He had this cool joke saying that he had two birthdays, one in Korea and then later one in LA, since Korea is 16 hours ahead of Pacific Standard Time in LA. So we had to sing him happy birthday. Nice. And then they got to perform all their cool bangers. And I like how Super Junior was teasing everyone, like, which song should we play last? And everyone was saying, you gotta play Sorry Sorry.
Next song is Sorry Sorry.
And they busted out that 2009's classic.
I also like Chungha, another big highlight and one of my favorite performances. She performed on day two and brought instant star power and stage presence. I always enjoyed her from her time during IOI and now pursuing her solo career. She interacted very well with the audience and of course had no problem speaking English with the audience as she's fluent in the language, having lived in Texas for several years.
Encouraging me, supporting me. What can I do for you guys? I'm releasing a pre-release song here. Just to make this moment even more special.
I I liked seeing her live and up close, and I think she has major potential to break into the K-pop US scene if she does more solo tours and comes out here more often.
A special mention has to go to TFN, which is formerly known as T1419, and I believe TFN is quite a new group, as well as Momoland. So they both volunteered to perform 2 days. So they performed on day 1 and they performed on day 2. And day 1 was especially brutal because it was raining a bit. It was drizzling in LA. It was really great seeing TFN, their rising group, as well as veterans Momoland. But it did suck for Momoland because this is awesome of a performance that they had. Ah-hin got sick. So day 2, she couldn't perform. So Momoland performed as 5. And if it wasn't for TFN and Momoland, KAMP LA day 1 would have been 3 artists. I have this schedule, and the original show was for day 1 supposed to be from 3:30ish to like 11. So what ended up happening, it became 3:30 to about 8:30 instead. And that was with all the artists saying, hey, we'll extend our performances from like 30 minutes to like 45 minutes. And I believe Super Junior got an hour. And that was all on the fly because 8 artists couldn't make it. So I hope they all got paid, especially TFN and Momoland for doing double duty. But despite all the self-sabotaging that KAMP did, the passionate fans made it fun. It made it bearable. Because I think the fans are a major reason why KAMP LA 2022 wasn't a total train wreck. They supported the artists that came out. You had different fandoms doing fan chants, even if it wasn't their favorites on stage. The crowd also withstood the rain on day 1. They stood in the drizzle and they continued to support the artists. A lot of the fans I talked to said that they were so tempted to just tour the city of LA and just cancel their tickets, but they wanted to support the artists that were still there, that still actually made it to KAMP. That is really cool respect of the fans here in the US. There was never a dull moment when the artists came out and they asked for love and support from the audience. They would actually punch up a bit because there wasn't that many people at KAMP LA and cheer so loud that it felt like there was a lot more people there. And there was also fans that interacted with one another during the intermission. Since heck, we weren't given any notice during that time. There was an Insomnia or Dreamcatcher fan that had a huge Gandalf stick that was holding it up over the audience, and people were cheering, going, yeah! I guess there was a lot of Insomnias there in the audience. It was a great experience, and it just made me appreciate how fun it is to go to K-pop concerts. No matter how much the organizer tries to self-sabotage themselves, the fans actually made it fun. It actually made me forget KAMP's screw-ups for just a little bit. And that's all I can ask for. The concert staff was great as well. They were very welcoming to a person that's not from LA, such as myself. From what I saw, they helped a lot of the congoers go into the stadium. They were actually quite empathetic towards the fans when they said, oh, you know, our favorites aren't here. This sucks. We're mad. And they actually understood our frustrations. There was a lot of people talking about the pride of the Rose Bowl Stadium, which the concert took place in. The service was top notch when I ordered food and drinks there. It's great. Good talking, great service. This excellence in staff wasn't wasted just on the organizers that organized the concert. It's just, oh God. Props to the staff. Now, my favorite part of the concert was when Epic High came out. Now, Tablo went off on KAMP LA 2022, and rightfully so. They were not only just well aware of what was going on and how the fans got screwed over and the artists got screwed over, but Tablo made a great speech about thanking the fans that came out. It was really touching. Check it out.
Because Epic High has been around for a very long time. And we've pretty much seen it all. We have mad respect for the people that can take a bad situation and try to turn it into something positive. Shout out to all the artists that came out this weekend. Despite all the difficulty, and worked very hard to put on a good show for all of you that are here. Also shout out to everyone that wanted to be here but couldn't make it. I know for a fact that every artist that wanted to be here tonight, they really wanted to be here. They prepared very much, and things just didn't go according to plan. But I'm sure they would love to be here with you tonight. So shout out to all the artists. We have maybe 1 or 2 songs? 1 or 2 songs left to make you forget a little and enjoy yourselves. What a night! In more ways than one, tonight will be historical. No matter what anyone says, these last 2 nights will be remembered. If ever there is a Netflix show or a Hulu show, I want to be in it. I'm not being specific here. Just any Netflix or Hulu show in general is what I'm talking about. Let's go out with the bang!
And now, in the follow-up, this is personally my favorite. Elegant speech just crapping on Camp LA 2022.
There are times in everyone's life where it feels like you're not gonna make it. There are times in your life where you feel like everything is going to shit. Where you feel like all the plans you made all the hopes you had, no matter how well organized and prepared in advance, don't matter because it's not in your control. There are times in your life where you don't always get what you want, and it breaks your heart. I'm sure none of you know what I'm talking about. I am sure none of you experienced even a little bit of that this weekend. I'm just saying this because we personally have experienced crazy things in our lives. And all those moments are a reminder that despite it all, we are here!
What impressed me the most with Tablo's eloquent speech is that he didn't just say all these vulgar, nasty, or cursing words at Camp LA 2022. He did it in such a way where it was so intellectual. I remember when Tablo was speaking and he was just going off on Camp, everyone was saying around me, like, he's actually crapping on Camp. He's doing it so brazenly. Tablo was saying what all of us were thinking the entire weekend.
We all know asking for things in advance doesn't always work out. Sometimes you gotta go with the flow. I'm spontaneous. I truly, honestly, look around. I'm the biggest shit person. It's possible someone is shirtless back there. What a night like to remember. Remember this night. Jokes aside, we really know, we do realize how much difficulty you faced to be here tonight. The artists had to go through a lot too, but nothing compared to what the fans had to go through. I don't know if this is a silver lining or any consolation at all, but 10 years from now, or 15 or 20 years from now, they will ask you this question: where were you during Camp LA? On the count of 3, we would like you to scream, "Wow!" And Mithra will throw this to the loudest person here tonight.
I learned from that speech that we have to remember, where were you during Camp LA 2022? For better or worse, I was there. Now, a special mention must go out to the translating, which was awful. Now, I really don't like to do this and bash translators because I know it's a hard job. It's tough to translate in real time or to get the nuances or to be ready at all times. So in nearly all cases, I would side with the translators. But in this case, there was just so much unprofessionalism done that I can't help but notice just the shoddy translating at this event. So just a few of the lowlights of the translating. During the talking sections of ESPA, which was on day 2, the official translator couldn't be found. The group members actually said, "We don't have a translator here." And this is because Giselle, who's the fluent English speaker of the group, had her own wardrobe malfunction several times during the concert, which, believe it or not, is not Camp LA 2022's fault. I know, it's shocking. It's actually SM Entertainment's fault, but that's for another story. Yeah, so Giselle had to go off the stage several times to fix her costume. During that time, they didn't have a native or fluent English speaker in the group. So you would think that would come down to the camp translator. She just pieced out. She wasn't there. The rest of the ESPA members had to translate for themselves.
There's no translation. I'll translate it for you. Oh yeah, thank you.
And this highlights the first bad point. Even if you have a fluent speaker in English in a group, you always have to be ready as a translator in case things go down, as with what happened with Giselle's wardrobe malfunction.
Another lowlight were the Super Junior and Momoland translations, with Super Junior calling out the translator after their short speech.
할아버지, 할머니, 아저씨, 아줌마 모두가 함께 즐겨주셔서 감사합니다.
Thank you so much for your support, everybody.
Everybody. Everybody. Brother, sister, father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, cousins, friends, everybody.
Now, to be fair, in this case, the translator wasn't totally off. When Super Junior said brothers, sisters, grandfathers, grandmothers, and so on, the translator was summing it up. So technically, her translation of "thank you so much for your support, everybody" is correct. Yet since Super Junior said a lot, they purposely gave the translator time to translate all that into English, and was expecting to translate each group. So when she summarized Super Junior's speech into 8 words, or 여러분 응원해주셔서 감사합니다, which is the Korean version, which means thank you for supporting or cheering us on, everybody. Both Super Junior and the fans were unsatisfied with the translation. A translator should be able to pick up on the nuance on translating a phrase rather than always summing it up. And I know that's a tough thing to do. After all, there's a reason why Super Junior mentioned each person individually, putting emphasis on each age group, coming out and thanking them. Even though fans were bashing the translator, this mistake, honestly, wasn't that bad in comparison to our other mishaps. And one of those other mishaps is with Momoland, where the translating was quite slow, and sometimes there were no translation at all, as fans wondered what the artists were saying. Take a look at this video.
Where's the translator?
In Momoland's case, the English speakers of the group had to do the translator's job for them, which is a really bad look. There were other problems as well.
The translating wasn't just a few words off, or wasn't weirdly translated where it doesn't sound right, but the gist of the meaning is still there. That's totally cool. I remember in the crowd, a lot of people were saying, that's not what they said. And the funny part is, none of them knew Korean, but they can tell. It got to the point where I had to translate for my friends. The translations were so off. And I side with the translators in nearly all cases. But I just noticed, like, this is just really, really unprofessional. So I'll translate for my friends. Now, the third lowlight was when the translator asked TFN, who do you like to impersonate in BTS the most? Which a lot of fans in the audience thought it was really rude. Now, I get that the translator is trying to bring a relatable topic since BTS is the biggest K-pop group out there and they're hugely popular in America, so let's connect BTS to TFN. But I felt in this case, there was no connection between TFN and BTS. BTS wasn't performing there and TFN didn't mention BTS at all. So I don't know why you would just randomly ask that question. The highlight should be about TFN, their accomplishments, their songs, their dances, like get to know them, not to put the spotlight off of them and onto BTS. Now, to TFN's credit, they were very professional in doing the BTS impersonations and saying that we really look up to them and they're pioneers in K-pop, and so forth. Really professional of them. But I can see why the fans would be pretty annoyed by that question because it just shows utter disrespect for that group that's performing like in front of them. In short, I would say this. Just because a translator is Korean or a non-Korean knows Korean, like not everyone has the chops to do it. And the unprofessional translating showed during the concert. How much did KAMP lose during this concert? I'm guessing a lot of money. Again, I don't have official numbers, but based on my experiences in the industry, they probably lost well over $1 million. As mentioned earlier, you had people sneaking in, you had people paying $2, $1 tickets on StubHub, you had people refunding their tickets and still getting in. You had a lot of people that weren't paying full price for those tickets. Just from the glance, from the attendance, there couldn't have been more than 2,000 people on day one or day two. And if there is, color me surprised. I think what KAMP needed was probably at least 15,000 people paying $250 for the 2-day event to make a decent profit. I have to say the Rose Bowl, as well as bringing all the artists out here and paying for their hotels and other stipends, can't be cheap. KAMP LA 2022 wasn't confident that it would hit 15K people because they moved the stadium a lot closer. They had the UCLA banners that were covering up a lot of sections, and they had a lot of other sections that were just closed off. Now, I guarantee you, if this was TWICE, a BTS, a Blackpink, or another big group here in the US, if it was their concerts, I bet you that stadium would have been opened up a lot more. You would not see those UCLA tarps, you'd see the stadium pushed back more, and you'd see the stadium full. Why? Because those concerts are probably going to be run a lot more professionally, and those acts are huge, so they're going to sell out.
While KAMP LA itself looked quite bad in all of this, there is a company called KFAM Creations that's capitalizing on the failures of the event and selling I Survived t-shirts of KAMP LA 2022. The company is mocking the poorly handled music festival while also making some money on the side, with some catchy slogans such as, I attended KAMP Los Angeles to see Monsta X, and all I got was a refund. It's also this weird badge of honor for those that actually went and survived the whole ordeal. In a sense, we're all alumni of this debacle that is KAMP LA 2022 that made it out of the festival without losing our sanities. So at the very least, at least for one company, there's a silver lining to this event.
So the future of camp in North America. The festival has the K-pop Fyre Festival tag attached to it. It has that stigma. And fans are rightfully gonna be wary if camp ever makes another festival on North American shores.
Fans will compare this festival to the much better run conventions such as Coachella, South by Southwest, and Head in the Clouds, and spend their money on those festivals instead. KCON is also around and looks a lot more organized compared to Camp LA. To put it bluntly, Camp LA has a long way to go if it wants to be seen as a legitimate festival capable of competing with the aforementioned events.
The best play I would do is make a formal apology. Go with what happened, how it was your fault, and how you're gonna make amends if you make another Camp LA. Offer a much more generous refund policy in case things go wrong, because fans are gonna think that now if you ever have a new Camp LA or whatever city it is in North America. In the end, they were supposed to be the chosen one. I guess we'll have to wait for another K-pop festival to come to US shores.